What the hell is going on in the crypto market right now?
Yeah, I mean, it took me by surprise. My base case was that we were going to see the typical year-end rally. Obviously, most of us had the same idea. Usually when most of us have the same idea, it doesn't work. But the other thing I did know is, having come from that finance background, knowing how hedge funds and institutions work, I also knew that if you're a hedge fund and you've got crypto in your portfolio, you've probably had a good year. Everybody fears change, right? That's just a human thing. And the rate of change here is extremely fast. If you're a hedge fund and you've got crypto in your portfolio, you've probably had a good year. So to get paid, you tend to close out your portfolio. So you know what you're going to get paid at the end of the year. So they are incentivized to sell their positions, to go away for Christmas, have a break, that kind of stuff. The institutions like pension funds and others, they tend to rebalance their portfolio. So like Ethereum's up 500% this year. So if they started with a 1% weighting, they're now at a 5% weighting. So they'll probably bring it back down to, let's say, a 2% weighting in line with their allocation. So you've got institutional sellers that never really were in the market before. And they're not expressing, I don't think, a negative view of the market. What they're just doing is rebalancing for year end. And so my general view is that most of that selling is now done. And so the next thing they all come into January with is a new P&L. And, what do I do now? The only answer is I have to buy more.
So basically all this red wave this last week was like people selling, making some profits, and also rebalancing, you think?
Correct.
Okay, cool.
Correct. That's exactly what I think it is. Bitcoin is roughly about 75% volatility. So it's a very volatile asset. What we'll find is that over time, volatility falls as more people are in the network because you don't have discrepancies between buyers and sellers that create illiquidity because there's more people in the network. So you'll tend to find, Amazon now is trading off call it a 30% volatility. So it's half that of Bitcoin. So I think, as Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies get to 1 billion users plus, what we'll find is that the volatility will fall, the prices become less exponential in nature, both to the upside and the downside. But it should remain in a logarithmic trend. So it's currently about 2.5 trillion. If I look at all the other asset classes around the world, equities, bonds, real estates, they're all between 250 and 350 trillion. If I look at the total derivative markets, 1 quadrillion. I think there's a reasonable chance of this being a $250 trillion asset class, which is 100x from here, which would be the largest growth of any asset class in all history in the shortest period of time. That will pretty much dovetail in with the idea that 3.5 billion people are using it that's just extrapolating the growth numbers of the network. So if 3.5 billion users in 2030, well, the market cap's going to be something like 250 trillion. Yeah, it all kind of backs out pretty straightforward, just using network adoption models. Obviously, there's a lot of VCs who want to invest in Web3, but what is ownership in Web3? What is Web3 all about? It's about the community sharing in the economics of the network. Just because VCs have some share of, let's say, a holding company that is setting up a business doesn't give them ownership of the network. This is the difference. Facebook and Twitter, the ownership of the network was only with the shareholders and not the users. So it's a fundamental misunderstanding of what Web3 is all about. Web3 is the shared ownership of the network. That's how I think of it. So I get what he's saying. He's basically saying, well, Bitcoin didn't start backed by VCs, but I'm sorry, but stuff like Square, Strike, stuff like that, the layer 2 payment solution, well, there's venture capitalists in that. Capital needs to come from somewhere. It doesn't all come from individuals, and you're not allowed to raise initial token sales from individuals without breaching securities laws. So it's a bit disingenuous to talk about it in that way, and it's a bit misunderstanding about what Web3 is. And there's nothing wrong with somebody focusing their attention on one particular area of this new revolution, blockchain revolution, digital assets. But it doesn't have to be at detriment of everything else. That's crazy. It's not a zero-sum game.
Yeah, it's
But
not
his
black and
idea is
white,
if we
right?
don't create sound money first, it's all lost.
Yeah.
Okay, that's his opinion, and good for it, Jack. Go for it. Get people around you, build stuff, do stuff. But don't take away from other people doing other things in the digital asset space, because there are other people who are focused on specific things in DeFi or stable coins or interoperability, and they're all equally applicable. Let everybody focus on their bit. That's how distributed networks work. If we all focus on our bit, we've got a massive network of experts all focused on building out component parts of all of this. So the metaverse is not a single destination. It is the increasing digitalization of our lives. So right here we are now. I'm in the Cayman Islands. You guys are in Brazil. This is basically a metaverse experience. This is a digital experience that did not exist 5-6 years ago.
Mhm.
So, and we now take it for granted. So there's a lot of people, like half of the entire staff at Real Vision, I've never met in person because of this new metaverse. Distributed workplaces are basically metaverse experiences.
Mhm.
So everything is being digitized. The acceleration of that digitization is the metaverse. So when we live in this digital, increasingly digital world, then it becomes increasingly difficult for me to exchange value with you until we've built out this blockchain infrastructure that allows us to exchange value digitally, instantaneously around the world. And it's a network that nobody owns. So, that is a great thing. But as Web3 rolls out, we will stop spending our lives arguing over Solana versus Terra or Bitcoin versus Ethereum. And we all care about the consumer applications of stuff that people won't know or care is Bitcoin. We don't talk about, oh, we're on an internet connection today. We don't care. We're on Zoom. And it could be Zoom, or it could be Microsoft Teams, or it could be whatever. We don't really care either. I don't even know what computer you're on. You don't know what I'm on, what internet network you're on. None of that matters. But it's the consumer application that's going to come. And NFTs were the first sight of a consumer application. They're still very geeky. It's still a crappy environment. The wallets are still impossible. Most people don't understand why you want to own a stupid picture of a monkey. None of this really makes sense. The art market was a little more understandable. But my guess is once large communities of culture, so music and sports predominantly, and probably fashion, those three are probably the largest cultural influences in the world. Once they start adopting it, which is happening at NFT level, but I think it's also going to happen at social tokens level, then we will all understand what it means to have the Web3 idea of a stake in a network. And that's the game changer. And we won't think of it as a cryptocurrency or whatever thing. It's like you're participating in that network. It's much like if we'd had all been given shares in Facebook when Facebook launched, we would have all participated in that network. We didn't though.
Do you want to know one thing about crypto? I made over 3000% in profit in a few weeks. Fact is, the traditional financial system, the traditional money system makes you poor, not rich. If you want to earn $500,000, $1 million, you have to wait until you're 50, 60, 70 in the traditional financial system, and you probably will still be broke. And you will be old. This is not a sexy combination, as you can imagine. But the question is, how can you start in crypto and make these profits? Where to invest? Where to start? My name is Gunnar and I'm from Germany, as you can hear, and things are a little bit different in Germany. More about that later on. Fact is, there are lots of different cryptocurrencies. It's a gigantic universe where beginners and professionals get easily lost. But there is light at the end of the tunnel. There are 7 key steps you need to follow to become successful in this market. You have to know them, and if you fail one of them, it's literally impossible to succeed in this market. Just an example, one of the key points is your exchange, and one of the biggest are, for example, Binance and Coinbase. These are trusted and well-established exchanges, but, and this is a big but, you won't find the super profitable coins on those exchanges. The unknown super profitable coins that get gigantic profits are not traded on those kind of exchanges. They are traded on much smaller insider platforms that are barely known. And I can tell you what those super secret exchanges are and why they are so profitable. And another super important thing are the right information sources. The point is, the internet is gigantic. There are hundreds and hundreds of YouTube channels, blogs, pages, and much more. And there are also market makers and influencers. For example, Elon Musk, he is not a crypto guy, but the moment he recommended Dogecoin, it went through the roof, to the moon, so to say. But why did he recommend it? Where did he hear it from? He didn't hear it from newspapers. And believe me, he is listening to someone. But you have to know who, and you have to react before he is reacting. This is really important. And these are only 2 of the 7 steps you have to follow in order to be successful in crypto. And if you want to know all of these steps in much more detail, and if you want to have a comprehensive checklist, here's what you should do. There is a link below this video. Click on this link and you will get the opportunity to subscribe to my channel. Click on the link and you will see a video where I explain the next steps. So see you soon. Click on the link now. I'll see you there.